Welcome, everyone. I want to offer a warm welcome to our law session today. My name is Kirsty. I work as a student recruitment officer at the University of Glasgow. And this session today is really our chance to talk about what you can expect from an undergraduate programme of law at Glasgow. And we're really lucky today to be joined by several of our staff, and we also have current students, which is fantastic. So you'll be able to get a sort of student and staff perspective on things. So just before we start, if you have more general questions about studying at the University of Glasgow and your next steps, whether that's about your offer, about the university, then we have some fantastic information on our undergraduate offer holders pages, and there's lots of stuff on there and really good links to sort of push you out to different areas of the website as well. And we'll put that link into the chat for you so you have it. If you have offer-based questions, and firstly, congratulations on your offer, that's amazing. But if you have specific questions about the content of your offer or any sort of conditions, then that needs to be directed to admissions just so they can look at that in detail for you. So you can absolutely use the admissions inquiry form, which is always on our website. And at certain points of the day, there's also live chat there for you. So we would recommend that. And again, we'll put the link into the chat for you so you have that at any point today or afterwards. So now I'm going to introduce our panel. So first of all, we have Adam Riley. So he's one of our law lecturers at the University of Glasgow. We have Emily, one of our Scots Law students who does that with French language. And then we have Denise as well, one of our common law students who's in her final year. So I'm going to let them all just introduce themselves individually. So Adam, do you want to go first?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Adam Riley, and I am a lecturer in the law school teaching on the common law programme. I am also the director of the common law programme, and I am currently the acting admissions officer. So maybe our paths have crossed before at a previous recruitment event, but if not, I'm happy to meet your acquaintance just now.
Thank you so much. Emily, do you want to go next?
Hi, yeah, I'm Emily. I'm in the second year of my Scots Law degree, which I'm doing with French language as well. I moved here from Dundee, so quite close. Yeah, it's nice to get this opportunity to help you guys out.
And then Denise, do you want to?
Yeah, so my name is Denise and I'm a fourth year common law student, and my parents are from Azerbaijan and I was born and bred in Russia and Cyprus, so I came to Glasgow for my undergrads 4 years ago. So yeah, I'm really excited for the panel and just to help you guys.
Thank you so much. That's great. And I think it's so good to have so much different experience and backgrounds like coming into the programme, and obviously having one of you studying Scots law and one who's common law, which Glasgow obviously offer both, is fantastic for students to do. We can dive into that. I think it's probably worth saying that if you do have questions, if you're with us today and you have questions, please drop them into the comments. Let us know. We would love to be able to answer all your questions today, and so you leave the session feeling confident about the information and having your questions answered, so you can make informed decisions about your offers. I think to start, I'd be really curious to hear from the students. I would love to know sort of why Glasgow, why law at Glasgow. I don't mind if that's a little bit about the programme, about the university, like what drew you in. Emily, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I absolutely fell in love with Glasgow when I came for the open day. It might sound quite silly, but it was the buildings for me. The old buildings I just find absolutely beautiful. Walking around the law school at Professor's Square, I felt like I was in a law school. I loved it. It was beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, actually. Denise, what do you think?
Yeah, so I was a 2021 intake, so I was post-lockdown, so I didn't have a chance to travel and see Glasgow and see all these beautiful buildings. Obviously, I get to see them now. But I think for me was definitely like the affordable university experience as a student. And also something that definitely drew me here was the undergraduate excellence scholarship that I got for 4 years. So I think as an international student, this is something I was looking at as well, like the financial aspects of the university. And I just feel like Glasgow is such a student city, so I'm quite happy like with the location of the campus and how it is in West End. And yeah, I just feel like the student life is really good for this uni. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all great points because they're all things that our current offer holders would be considering as well, sort of the city in a wider sense, the university in a wider sense, and then the law school itself. And it's great to hear, scholarships are working and you've had that support. And you've come from like different areas as well. So it's great to hear like about your experience even during sort of, if we can say, post-lockdown. Can I ask what you enjoy the most about the law course specifically? Because I know you're doing different, so Emily, you're doing Scots law. What is it you enjoy most about your programme?
So my favourite subject was criminal law in first year. I absolutely loved that. And I'm going to France next year and I'm looking at courses. And I've chosen 3 different criminal law programmes for France. I was absolutely obsessed with it. But more generally, I'd say I really like the tutorials. I think they're really, really helpful and it gives you an opportunity to meet other students in like a smaller, more intimate context and really deepen your knowledge. It's very, very helpful. Definitely engage with those fully when you come to the University of Glasgow.
That's great to hear. And I mean, doing the student recruitment stuff, I get a lot of questions about criminal law specifically. So it's really good to hear that it's there in the first year and that you're enjoying that. Denise, what about you and on the common law side of things?
So I think what I've been really enjoying, so obviously after 4 years, I like experienced different things throughout my university experience. And I think I like the fact how like in first and second year, I was just doing like some compulsory modules I would need to do to qualify later in England and Wales. And then in third and fourth year, it was my honours that I could pick. And I like how we have a big like variety of courses that we can pick from. And so for example, like this year I'm doing like children's rights and I did my dissertation on that. And I'm currently doing like social security law. And so it's just such a big like variety in terms of like that it's very diverse in terms of like what honours you can do, be it like criminal law or just something else. So I quite like how you can pick your classes in third and fourth year after doing some compulsory modules in first and second year. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Adam, do you have anything you want to add about like rogue question, but like your favorite parts of it, or anything you want to add about like the specifics of the Glasgow programme that you think are a key draw for the students?
So I'm one of those. I actually went to the University of Glasgow all those years ago myself, and I'm not ignoring your question, but for me it was the buildings as well. Emily, as soon as you said that, I thought, that's true, and the West End does have a feeling. A village feel might be putting it a little too strongly, but a lot of parks, a lot of open spaces, a lot of trees, and a lot of old buildings. So it is a wonderful place to live for 4 years. And that's just something to keep in mind as well. So even though I didn't study law, what I would like about it if I was a young person starting out is the fact that although for the first 2 years there's relatively little choice, it's something of a set menu. You do all of the qualifying subjects that you need to cover, your contract law, your property law, and so on. But the latter 2 years is completely different, and it's entirely up to you to fill up your program from the wide range of honours modules and options that you have. And we've got so many options that there really is quite a lot of scope for you to tailor your own law degree in the latter 2 years. So there's very much a sense in which the last 2 years of what you study are up to you. And that would be something that would attract me, because for those of you considering the common law program elsewhere, you'd have 3 years of study orthodoxly. So to have an extra year of choice, some people might think it's a bad thing, an extra year of study, but if you enjoy studying, then an extra year of choosing your own subjects is something to be welcomed, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's an extra year student life as well, which is never a bad thing. It maybe feels like that when you're a student, but I think retrospectively we can agree it's not a bad thing. So it's great. And it's really good to hear like the different perspectives as well, which I think is fantastic. And I just wanted to say, so for those who aren't sort of familiar with the uni in any in-depth way, what I think is really good about the law school particularly, lots of good things, of course, but when you're talking about the buildings, you're one of the very few areas that actually have like teaching space and areas in that main building, sort of in that professor square area. So those who maybe have visited briefly, it's that big sort of old building with a spire, and then you've got the square beside it. So I think it's so nice for you guys to have actual buildings and like actual space in that building, because I think a lot of students would really love that as well, to actually have teaching and stuff in there. So that's, I think, a really key job when you talk about the buildings and actually knowing as a law student you'll get to spend time in there. So Adam, just to come back to you if we can, I think one of the most frequent questions we all get is sort of what does a day in the life look like, or a week if that's easier, for a law student, whether that's, you know, Scots law or common law, sort of LLB law. And I mean, as students, I would be super welcome to hear your perspective on this as well. But Adam, what does it look like in terms of their timetable?
Yes, so again, it divides up in the first couple of years as compared to the latter couple of years. But for the first couple of years, as I say, you're getting all of those qualifying subjects. And so typically what will happen is each academic year is divided into 2 semesters. And each semester, roughly, you will have 3 big substantive modules. Sometimes there'll be a 4th module, an introduction to legal study or common law system and method, that sort of thing. But typically, you will have 3 big modules. And that for each module, that will involve typically, again, 2 to 3 hours of lectures a week. Let's call it 3 hours of lectures a week. So for lectures, you're going to have about 8 to 10 hours per week of sitting in a lecture hall with your entire cohort, or a large chunk of the entire cohort, listening to a lecture. And again, when I was a boy back in the day, I really enjoyed the lectures. There's something that is an ancient method of teaching going all the way back to Aristotle's Lyceum and so on. So it's something. It's a nice experience. So 8 to 10 hours a week of my turning up for lectures somewhere, and in addition, on a fortnightly basis, roughly, you will have per module 1 hour of tutorials, which is the small group teaching that Emily referenced earlier on, where depending on the module, something between 8 to 15 students will sit with a tutor and go through specific scenarios where we apply the law to a set of facts, hone our skills of legal analysis, and so on and so forth. So it will be about 8 to 10 hours of being on campus, attending lectures. All lectures are recorded as well, just in case you miss one. You don't need to worry about it too much. And then about 5 times on a fortnightly rotation, you will have, in addition, 3 hours of tutorials as well. And so it doesn't sound like a lot. Sometimes your parents might be shocked to hear that you only have somewhere between 12 to 15 hours of tuition. But of course, a typical day for any law student is going to involve a lot of reading. It is a reading-dense subject, I would say, is the old law. And you're reading various different types of thing, not just academic commentary, but the case law, sometimes statute. Sometimes it will be a bit dry. Sometimes it will be a bit more florid. The various different kinds of academic commentary, because we emphasize not just doctrinal criticism of the law, so lawyer's law, if you like, but also feminist perspectives, philosophical perspectives, economic perspectives on the law, and so on and so forth. So first couple of years, a typical day will involve maybe 1 to 3 hours of either lectures or tutorials, depending, and then a fair bit of time in the library. And then the latter 2 years, all of our honours modules are taught by weekly 2-hour seminars, and you have about 3 of those per week. So In the latter 2 years, it will be 6 hours of tuition, but probably a bit more time spent in the library. And that's again where the nice campus comes in, because a nice place to spend your time with a nice library, and also plenty of study spaces both within the School of Law and throughout the campus. Plenty of time. You've got to imagine yourself sat at a desk doing a lot of reading, fair enough, but also having the opportunity to just walk a few minutes from the library and be surrounded by trees and old buildings and so on and so forth. So I think this architecture point, how nice the campus is something to keep in mind when you think about the typical day or the typical week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Emily, I wonder if I could come to you and just sort of take in sort of your experience with your timetable. And I suppose because you also have the French language in there, I mean, I know I get asked a lot about, how that works if you have another subject alongside law.
Yeah.
Are you able to talk a little bit about sort of just anything you want to add to what Adam said around your timetable and studying, and maybe the French language as well?
So as far as French goes, when you pick a language alongside your degree, you drop a module. So you're doing 75% law and 25% language. So for me, this semester looks a bit different because everyone else did their elective last semester, whereas this semester I've now got 6 exams. But that doesn't happen often. So it balances out. You do drop one of the law courses, but you get the full law degree at the end. So if you're good at a language, it's a really good way to get, maybe an easier time, some people say, maybe not. I'm not sure. It does mean you'll have to do a 3rd year in a foreign country, though. I would say, as far as the typical week goes, I think there's a misconception online. I keep seeing on TikTok videos of people doing like 12-hour reading days just in the middle of their semester. That's not realistic at all. I think the key thing about being a law student is being able to focus when it matters most. There's certain times of years where you're going to have to sacrifice time and you're going to have to miss out on things. And the pressures do look different to, standard degrees. So it's keeping that in mind. It's not 8 hours of reading every single day. Like, you can still do things, you can still go out and have fun the same as everyone else and do well as well. So I wouldn't be too worried about all these videos you're seeing online. They're completely unrealistic, and I don't know anyone who does that, but it does require a little bit of preparation, like you say. Tutorials, I would say maybe 3 hours of work I would put in per tutorial behind the scenes and then present. So be 4 hours of work per tutorial. So currently I have 2 per week. So that's about 8 hours of preparation for the tutorials baseline. So yeah.
It's really interesting. Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think the key message there is sort of you have this set timetable, and as Adam sort of alluded to, like, it's not like your school timetable, like your parents or your teachers, like, it's not going to be that full contact time timetable, but you are expected to do work behind the scenes, and that sort of builds it back up to this full-time study. And that makes it a bit more of a outside of your classes, it's more of a fluid timetable. And I think students, that's one of the transitions from coming from school to university, is realizing that different way of studying, or one of the different ways of studying, and that sort of, that you're talking about, Emily, that sort of drive to do things when it counts and the work behind the scenes or outside of your classes. I'd love to hear more about that if you guys have any tips or tricks for sort of transitioning to university in terms of study. But Denise, do you have anything you want to add, like, with regards to sort of your timetable and a day in the life?
Yeah, so as a 4th year, I definitely spent a lot of hours in the library. Like, I went today at like 7:30 in the morning, and so I spent quite a lot of hours, because especially it's exam season. And also, I think something I wanted to say as well is, like as we said, that in 3rd and 4th year, your contact hours, you have less contact hours, but you have more independent studying to do. So even though I had like 6 hours of contact hours in 3rd year and then 4 hours in 4th year, I spent so much time on my dissertation, which is also like a big 40 credit module that I would have to do, right? So I think there's a lot of reading and a lot of research that you need to do. So I do spend like every day in the library all day long, but I think something to say as well is that you can have that balance in a sense that, you can have you can spend your evenings with your friends, and some obviously students have part-time jobs as well, so you need to balance it all. So I think the fact that you have less contact hours made me appreciate my time more, in a sense, to actually spend it on either studying or working part-time or doing some societies, or just having my social life as a part of my university experience. So I think in first and second year it might be a bit difficult to juggle it all around, because you have like 3-4 courses per semester. You're basically in uni every day. But in third and fourth year, you're just in uni like twice or maybe 3 times a week, and then you just go to the library to study or do your assessments and stuff. So yeah, I think it's just definitely depends on the student's approach. It's very individual and very like person phase. So I think if you are someone who likes studying a lot, or like needs to study a lot to understand something, you'd spend more hours in the library. But if you're someone who catches the information faster and stuff, so you'd spend less time in the library and maybe more time doing some other things. So yeah, I would say that.
Thank you so much. I think that's a really good point about like the way you study, and I think I would like to come back to that at the end, just about like transitioning into university and study and stuff. But for the sake of time, I think you've led us into our next question perfectly, just around I'm so glad to hear that there's a social life to, of course it is, like student life to your timetable and your time at university. And there's sort of your student life outside of university and into the city. But I'd be really interested to hearing a little bit about any sort of extracurriculars you guys have done. So I don't know if that's mooting or sort of experience, learning in your coursework, extracurriculars, internships. Like, is there anything? I know you mentioned going abroad. We're going to talk about that next, Emily. So we'll hold on to that one. But is there anything else you guys have had the opportunity to do that has been a sort of standout? Emily, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so me and a few of my friends from the law course have actually gone to watch a few court cases in Glasgow High Court. So it's free to go in. Anyone can go in and watch. I think a lot of people don't realise that you don't need, you can just walk straight in. And it's really, really interesting, especially when you kind of understand what's going on. So we've done that, and that's quite a good, easy free way to get some experience, because at least you're seeing how the court runs, how it operates, and how judges speak in court. It's really, really interesting. And obviously Glasgow, being a city, has lots of different courts that you can go to, and anyone can go along. So definitely that's great. Apart from that, it is quite difficult to find things, but this summer I'm focusing on building a legal CV. So I am going to do some work experience in the court in Aberdeen, and potentially do some shadowing in a law office in Dundee. So it will be very interesting to get, a bit more knowledge and experience. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's amazing. And it's good to hear there's sort of like practical element to it as well, because we already talked about how much reading there is in it, and there's no getting away from that. But it's great to hear like having these extracurricular experiences and additional things add in some practical and observation as well. Denise, do you have anything you would like to add about? Like, I know you already kind of talked about some of it. Is there anything else you wanted to, which was great, to talk about in terms of sort of the extracurriculars and things?
Yeah, I think so. So I'm a little like focused more on like academic things. I like to keep it like half academic, half fun in terms of extracurriculars, because I think it's so important to have that balance. So I'm part of like academic societies, but also fun societies. So when it comes to academic, like I do debating in terms of like Model United Nations, and it's about like societies that meet every week to do some weekly debates on different international issues and just global issues in general. And my fun society is Formula One, and like I get to watch Formula One with my friends. And something I just wanted to say as well is that you can even create your own society. So for example, with Formula One, it was my friend who created the society. So if it is something you're really interested in, you can create it and like get your friends to join it, and it becomes a society. So that's how I keep it. And then other than the societies, I just work part-time like at the university and outside of it as well. And I do some sort of like I think we'll talk about later, but like I work for the employability team at the School of Law. So I basically organize events, and I think I help organize events in terms of like getting like the speakers and getting like lawyers to come and talk to students. So I think I get to actually be exposed to a lot of things and like career aspects. And yeah, so I think this is also really fun because you get to meet so many people and like successful people have also been in my position. So yeah, I quite enjoy that.
That's amazing. Thank you. I'm just at a weird time and I want to get through some of the other questions, but Adam, is there anything you wanted to add around like the learning experience in terms of the sort of experiential learning, their practical sort of learning outside of the dense reading and things like that, and the opportunities within the law school?
Yeah, just briefly, we have something called the Emma Rich Law Clinic. And a number of modules that give you clinical experience. So by clinical experience, I mean working with clients under supervision, of course, that will give you the opportunity to earn credit. So you could either volunteer in your own time at the Emma Rich Law Clinic. And the Emma Rich Law Clinic, just think of that as an institutional structure to arrange volunteering and that sort of thing. But you can also earn credit, 10 credits module to volunteer with the Citizens Advice Bureau. And then at honours level, although we've only got a few of them at the moment, we've got a number of clinical courses. So there's a racial justice clinic, there is a housing and homelessness clinic, an access to justice module. And all of these have a degree of training you for giving advice to people who have concerns about losing social housing or dealing with homelessness, that sort of thing. So there's plenty of opportunity to get practical clinical experience that will give you an insight into potential careers that you may or may not be interested in. And even if you think that, oh, I want to be more of a commercial lawyer, dealing with clients and dealing with different types of clients is a good thing to get practical experience of in your studying years, if you like. So just to let you all know that those are not only available at the law school at Glasgow, but they're also built into the curriculum. You can earn credit for them. So that's the only thing I'd mention.
That's super, super interesting. And then I don't think anyone mentioned it, and I apologize if you're, but the mooting room, we have our own mooting room, and you guys get to do some of that. Adam, do you want to talk a little bit about that, just briefly?
Well, yeah, I would say it's built into, you will have to, for the law of delict for Scots law students, you need to moot at one stage. So you'll be earning credit, you'll be assessed for mooting. You and a partner will present a case for the claimant or the defendant. So you'll get some practical experience of mooting built into your module. I'm not sure, Denise, was the same thing available in the common law program? It was, okay.
Yeah, so I did it for my Law of Torts class in first year as well in second semester. So it was compulsory, and yeah, like you said, I did it with my partner. And there's also mooting society, and a lot of students do it even after first year, and like they join the society and they even compete like nationally and internationally. We had a team going like I think like a couple of weeks ago to Washington. So it's very like I think it's a very popular choice among students to do this. And yeah, it's really, really interesting, just really good experience.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Adam, can I come back to you and sort of segue into sort of study abroad and mobility? And I think the law school do this incredibly well and have so many wonderful opportunities. And Emily, I know you referenced earlier about you're going abroad for a year, which I can't wait to hear about, but just more generally about the opportunities that they have, the support for that, and how it works in with the law degree at Glasgow.
Yes, so Glasgow University has longer, so we were involved in study abroad opportunities for a longer period of time than has typically been the case with other universities. I know this sounds like cheap advertising or something along those lines, but it just so happens that our study abroad program is quite a bit older than a lot of universities doing it. Well, I don't actually know, but I take it I've been told this. And so we've had a longer period of time to build relationships with other institutions, and we've weathered the storm of Brexit a little bit better than might otherwise be the case as a result. Some opportunities have closed. So, for instance, we used to have good relationships with the University of Hong Kong, and that institution is still fine, but of course the political situation has changed somewhat there. But otherwise, we've got a very wide network of partnerships, and they've been going for a long time, is just the point that I'm trying to make. So let's talk about, just very briefly, I'm keeping an eye on time as well. Don't worry if I sound as though I'm going off or not. But if you are studying law with a language, as Amelie has already referenced, you must spend your third year abroad in a country in which you will receive tuition in the language that you're studying. So go to France if you're studying French, go to Spain or somewhere in South America if you're studying Spanish. So that's something to keep in mind. How confident are you with your language in your first couple of years? Because in your third year, you're going to be assessed in it and taught in it. But if you're not studying law with a language, it's entirely optional, and there are two types of options for you. There are short-term study abroad opportunities where you can go for 2 weeks, or maybe you can even do some work experience abroad. So for maybe a month or something along those lines. There are those opportunities, but then there is also the opportunity to study abroad for either a semester or an entire academic year. We have partnerships, a wide array of partnerships in Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, also in Asia, Singapore, plenty of places on continental Europe where you can go and receive tuition in English, particularly in Holland and Denmark, a couple of universities in Germany, I believe. So there's a wide range of opportunities. We have our own study abroad expert within the School of Law, Stephen McKinnon, who's not here today, but he's a font of knowledge. But we also have a wider university institutional structure that will give you training sessions on applying for a visa, for example, guide you through the process. Notionally, applying to study abroad is notionally competitive. It will sometimes depend upon your grades, but that doesn't translate into not studying abroad. It just means that some of the more popular locations, so Melbourne, Boston, Toronto, Vancouver, actually, there's more demand to go to these places, and so sometimes you might not end up going to Vancouver, but you'll still be able to go to Canada. You might not be able to go to Melbourne, but you'll still be able to go to Australia. And I think I'm right in saying that something like 60% of our third years last year studied abroad at some point in their studies. So plenty of opportunities. They're widely available, and different kinds of opportunities too.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree with that. I think having that sort of wider view of study abroad, my understanding is that law have some of the biggest numbers that go abroad, whether that's for semesters or a year. So it's a complete strength in terms of the law school and having that option if you wish. And I think it's probably worth just sort of adding in, and I think, Emily, your experience might be a touch different because you're going for the year with your language degree, but there shouldn't be any extra time or cost added into your degree, which I think for our students coming from rest of UK, that can be quite unique. So, I mean, obviously speak to your Student Finance England or SAS in terms of the living cost support that you would get, but they do support it. And in terms of tuition, it is covered by the university. So it's not any sort of additional years, additional cost, anything like that. So I think that's a real strength. And it makes it very accessible for people in terms of time and finance. I'm just super aware of time. So just to sort of set the scene, Amelie, I was going to ask you just very briefly if you had anything you wanted to add about your going to France. And then Denise, I was going to ask, I think because you're like nearly finished, which is incredible, and thinking about your future plans, I'm sure, around about like how the uni has prepared you for that in terms of your career, and if you had any future plans after graduation, I'd love to hear. So, Amelie, do you have anything you want to add about the year in France first?
Yeah, so the uni have been really, really supportive with the year abroad application process. So I finished the process now. I'm just waiting on my confirmation from my chosen university in Lyon, Sciences Po. So that'll come in about a week's time and I can fully get the visa process started. But like I say, you're guided through step by step. I mean, we've had lectures where everyone going abroad kind of goes and gets all the information. They're really quick at getting back to you with any emails. And yeah, like I say, everyone that I know that applied for year abroad got a space on year abroad. So it might not be your first choice. I did get my first choice place. Not everyone did, but I think there's so many good options that there's not a bad option on the list. There's so many places and they all have different qualities. So yeah.
That's amazing. Sorry. Standard muted twin, not supposed to be muted. Denise, I'm just super aware of the time, but I would love to hear just what I was saying about your future career plans and how the university has hopefully prepped you in terms of going into the graduate world for law.
Yeah, so I think I definitely gained some fantastic transferable skills throughout my 4 years, be it through like public speaking, through the societies or volunteering on or off campus, be it like the employability opportunities that we have, because we have a whole careers employability team on campus that like always advertises, opportunities. So I think definitely the university has been built me as the person I am today and like very prepared for the future and what it comes. So I think for common law students, it's usually like a path of to going like to England and qualifying there. My future plans for now is just getting some work experience for a year or two and then do my qualifications. But a lot of obviously students who are on common law program, they usually go and qualify using SQEs in England. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And like, can I just come back to you because we did have a question and I think it's a really good one. So just talking about the law with language degree, and sort of going for the 2 semesters, someone's asking, do you come home in between those 2 semesters?
Yeah, I think you can. I think it depends on the university how long your break is, though. In France, you get a much shorter Christmas break. It's something like 7 to 10 days, whereas I know in Glasgow it's about 3 weeks. But you definitely can come home. I think the length of time would just depend on, the individual universities. What would you call it? Their program, how it runs and when it runs.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. Adam, do you have anything you want to add in terms of like, I know we touched on employability and Denise gave us a little taster of like some of the ways that the law school try and prep students and support students coming out into their career. Do you have anything you want to add from a law school perspective on that?
Yeah, 3 things. The first is something I've already mentioned, the fact that clinical education is built into your degree program at the law school. So you're getting those practical transferable skills of client care, engaging with clients, dealing with clients, and so on and so forth. So that's one point. But the other 2 things to keep in mind are, firstly, there is a university-wide employability service. The Careers, Employability and Opportunity Office that services the entire university. But then the School of Law also has its own employability office with its own distinct employability team with an employability officer who's an academic, and they're in charge of law-specific networking events. So we have very good relationships with firms both down south in England and up in Scotland, as you'd expect. Not just because we've got the 2 programs, of course, but because some of our Scots Law students end up transferring and working down south. This is a possibility despite the fact of having a Scots Law degree, for example. So dual qualification is more straightforward than you might otherwise have guessed. But our employability office, our law employability office, also work with Glasgow Law Society, the Students' Law Society, to help arrange these networking events and so on and so forth. So you, as a member of the Law Society, the Glasgow University Law Society, you will be kept in the loop for upcoming work experience and internship opportunities. It's really good as a source of information for upcoming opportunities and so on and so forth, as well as practical advice on your CV, how to prepare for interviews and that sort of thing. So between it being built into your degree, the law school's own employability office and the wider university services, there's plenty of support for you.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. I would echo that. I think the university does a fantastic job, generally speaking, but the law school have such a strength in that in many areas, but that is absolutely one of the key ones as well. So just aware of the time, so I just wanted to ask one last question just to round the session off today. And that was really, obviously we have offer holders with us today, they're making their choices. So I was going to ask all of you individually, just really quickly, what's the one piece of advice you would give a student in their position right now? If you could, obviously you've been through it, you're going back, what would be your piece of advice for future students coming into law at Glasgow? Let's start with Emily. Sorry, put you on the spot.
My advice would be to enjoy it. Keep on top of work, but don't overthink it in your first year. Definitely enjoy that sort of open 3-choice year while you can. Meet as many people as you can. Try and make friends on your course because it can make life a lot easier going through the degree. But yeah, definitely keep on top of reading and things throughout the semester so you're not really, really stressed at December, because those exams came around so quick for me. They kind of came around all at once. I was like, oh my goodness, I've got 2 weeks and then I have 4 exams and I'm really stressed now. So if you keep on top throughout the whole semester, little every single day, and then take your weekends off, that would be the best thing you could do, definitely, in your first year at Glasgow.
Thank you so much. How about you, Denise? What would you give future students as their piece of advice?
Yeah, I agree with Emily. I think I would say something as well, that you need to find like your best study tip. I think, like, is it like, are you someone like who prefers a lot of reading, or are you someone who likes handwritten notes, or are you just a laptop typer like me and you just like having everything on your laptop, you know? So it's just finding the way that's like works best for you, because it's so different to every single person. And I think in first and second year I kind of struggled with that because I didn't find the best way to study for myself, especially, you know, juggling with all these courses. But in third and fourth year I think I found the best way for me to study, and thankfully it works for me now. And definitely, yeah, to enjoy, just say yes to opportunities, because after 4 years I feel like I didn't say yes to every single thing I could have done, be it like just an opportunity within the School of Law, or be it just like volunteering or society or something, you know, or just seeing your friends like on a weekend or something because I had studying to do or something, you know. So I think, yeah, just being more open to opportunities, finding that study tip, and just enjoy your university experience. Yeah.
Thank you. And that's such a good point, because we did sort of touch on that transition side of things as well, and it is different for everyone, and there's support at the university for that. So do sort of go around the rest of the virtual offer holders day today and find out a bit more. Adam, do you have anything, the very last comment, anything you want to add or advice you have for students coming into law, future students at Glasgow?
It's 2 things, just to echo what Emily said, that self-organized, you know. One of your jobs is to keep a diary and keep track of everything. Make sure you give yourself enough time for study. Always take a bird's eye view of your studies and your social life, and just ask yourself, am I doing enough prep for this, enough prep for that? Your social life is one of the things you need to put a bit of thought into, and treat it as another thing that you need to organize and be aware of. And the second point is, don't do all of the reading in reading lists. This is maybe a different point going into how to study and all that sort of thing, and we don't have time for that. But keep in mind that the reading lists are very comprehensive, so that when you need to study something for an assessment, for an essay, for an exam, what have you, you have all the materials there. It's not the expectation that you do all of the reading every week. Attend your lectures, prepare for tutorials, and of course prepare for assessment, but don't do all of the reading all the time.
Perfect. And I think it's actually really apt you mentioned that, because there's a question just come in about if we could recommend reading lists, which I don't think we have a lot of time for, but maybe we can pop a link if such a thing exists into the chat, and we'll get that information to you. But I think that's everything for today and all we really have time for. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone for sort of logging in and interacting with the virtual session today, because we really appreciate your time. And a massive congratulations on your offer, because that is no mean feat. So congratulations on that. And we really do hope that we'll be able to welcome you to the university in September. Hope this session has been useful in that and helping sort of inform your choices and information about the University of Glasgow Law specifically. And thank you so much to Adam and our students for their time today. If you would like to watch this back, the recording will be here for you, so you absolutely can. And if you need to and wish to find out more about the University of Glasgow, you obviously have the web pages, the rest of the offer holders say today, and you can also check out the YouTube channel, which again we can put a link to, and that has lots of excellent student videos. Find out more about like what it's like to study at Glasgow within law and outside, student life and beyond. We also have the UniBuddy service online, so that's where you can speak to students in sort of real time and have a chat and ask your questions. So we really want to sort of help you guys get that information and get that perspective. So do interact with that and we'd be delighted to chat to you. So thank you again for joining us, and we hope to be able to welcome you to campus soon. And thank you to all of our panel as well.